what is going on? Thank you so much for tuning in. I am Deborah with Purusha Holistic Wellness, and this is another episode of Purusha Intuitive. So welcome. This is a channel all about natural health and well-being. I am a huge believer in whole body healing. So yes, our physical, but our mental, our emotional, our spiritual as well. Because they are all interconnected, in my opinion, and probably in science's opinion too. As we're seeing, as we're learning, I love science. I love kind of knowing the inner workings behind different things. And the brain is incredibly fascinating to me. Consciousness, just these different levels of physicality, really. Not only do we have kind of like, the Newtonian, the physical world, but we have these subsets of the particles and atoms that make up who we are, right? The physical, the table right here, our body, and I'm talking about that because it really does all touch on our mental, emotional, and spiritual health as well. There is a reawakening, I think, in the, esoteric kind of new age movement. Obviously, tarot has become really popular over the past 10 years or so. Astrology, energy healing, meditation, these things are kind of coming out as more normal practices, right? Kind of depending on whatever environment you're in. And, Ayurveda, like I've talked about, it is been around for 5,000-6,000 years. It is the study of life. And not only do we have our physical constitution, but we also have, like I said, mental, emotional, spiritual. And Ayurveda has recognized this from, back then, like all those years ago, right? Because that's, if we think about it, that is what people had to rely on back then, right? They didn't have, tools to measure and gauge, like particle accelerators to figure out, what type of particle it was, etc. Where we have a lot of that access now, and it's amazing because it helps validate what we see, sense, and feel. It can also disconnect us from that part of our energetic being, not good, bad, right, or wrong. It's just life, and we got to learn how to navigate. But I think that there is so much importance into our, energetic wellness, our spiritual, emotional wellness. And like I said, at this channel, we'll definitely be talking about all that stuff. So it made me think of Chakras. I love this book. This is super thick, super comprehensive by Cindy Dale. She is an amazing, author of all things energy medicine. She has a lot of really great books out. Highly recommend you look into her. So, they actually came out with this publication of the Chakras. I thought it was, I like my references. I like my books. So I just thought, why not? Why not get it? And it really is like such a good read. It forces us to look at things at a deeper level. And when we are healing, Ayurveda, especially Maharishi Ayurveda, really believes that when we take actions towards our health and wellness, we are healing multiple layers. It's not just our physical, right? It's not just here, take this pill and this magical healing is going to happen. It's saying like, if you utilize this herb, if you set your routine up in this way, if you eat like real food, it's actually not only going to nourish your physical, but your mental, your emotional, your spiritual as well. And it really talks about how, it comes back to the energy channels. And that's exactly what chakras are. They are energy channels. Ayurveda looks at this through the concept of prana. Prana is air, it's breath, it's bringing the unmanifest into being. Everything has to move, from Ayurveda breaks everything down into elements. So ether, air, fire, water, earth. And those elements or mahabhutas come into being through prana. It is considered the breath of life, right? And prana is so vital. It is amazing. Just, we'll probably talk more about it here, but I'm at a loss for words because the value that it brings to our being is amazing. There's this really great book on Kriya and yoga, and it talks about how in modern day, most of us don't breathe properly, i.e. we are not filling up our complete lung capacity, So we are getting shortchanged of this breath of life. Not only to mention how much shit is in the air, excuse my French, but legit, things are being rained down on us daily, right? So these practices, it's not about, image. It's not about our vanity. It is actually about our health and our vitality. Like I said, when we enliven these things in our being, it is going to naturally, it's a trickle effect, right? It's that ripple in the pond, so to speak. It's going to reverberate and hit different points of our cell's consciousness. And that is what these chakras are all about. I wanted to read a little bit of information that I found interesting. They talk about the three main functions of the chakra, and it's about physical processing. So kind of what I talked about, like our environment, what's surrounding us, etc. There's also the psychological processing. How are we internalizing what is happening in our environment, right? What is it triggering in us? What is it making us think about and feel about, etc.? And then there's that spiritual processing. How are these things that are infecting me allowing me to connect with who I am as a soul, as a being, It says that they record or hold related information, forever. Like it's embedded in what Ayurveda calls Tarpakana. It is kapha energy. It is cohesion. It is basically what builds us and gives us our structure. But these, if we think about it, everything that we absorb, if our body is not processing it appropriately, what happens to it? Well, it gets stuck somewhere, right? And that is essentially where disease begins to manifest, when things start getting stuck. And we hold on to that in the deepest tissues of our being, right? That kapha energy, because, I think sometimes, especially when we're dealing with heavier issues like trauma and, difficulty that we might face, unfortunately, it's really hard to look at. Most of us aren't really given the proper tools in the beginning of life of how to navigate, you kind of have to come from a very healthy, solid family, and unfortunately that is a little bit more rare, props to everyone that does. When we have that sense of stability, then we have a sense of self. We can gauge who we are easier, and then we can make the proper decisions accordingly. And that's why with the chakras, it's so important to kind of keep our energy clean and pure and vital, and we can do this in a myriad of ways. Obviously, unfortunately, some of the quote unquote fun stuff is more low vibey, right? I think consumption of chemicals, alcohol, drugs, certain things can kind of bring our energy down. Actually, in Ayurveda, alcohol is like the antithesis of well-being. And again, not to throw shade at alcohol. I'm not saying don't ever have a cocktail, or, you know, it can be, it's a hot topic, right? Because we all have our own experience, you know. But basically what it's saying is, you know, we really want to be nurturing things, our body, with things that enliven, and that is something that depletes. It takes away. I've heard various energy platforms say that alcohol punches holes in your aura. You know, it leaves you susceptible to, you know, lower vibrational energies. If you believe in kind of like the spirit world, like negative attachments, that type of thing. And, you know, again, it's not to pinpoint alcohol, because I think that there is numerous things that can do that for us. It's like anytime we are acting from that space of not being in alignment with ourselves. We talked about that before, right? About pragya aparad, the mistake of the intellect, when we disconnect from who we innately are, you know, in order for the more superficial instant gratification and pleasure, you know. And I think the moral of the story, I've been contemplating this a lot because I do love, personally in my own life, I love efficiency. I love perfectionism, probably a little bit neurotic at times, I'm not gonna lie. You know, but obviously I've been having the epiphany that no matter how hard you work at something, it's not going to end up in this neat little package. You know, you might get that once in a blue moon, but most often it looks different from how we kind of initially envision it. And so with that thought in mind, it's how can we work best with the energies? You know, because there's also this level of Ayurveda that says if something is, you know, something you experienced in your youth, or something, that kind of nostalgic connection that you might have, that can actually be healing for your physiology, right? And, you know, sometimes what people might think is like a bad thing, it can actually be used as healing medicine. I think the bottom line is it's all about how we use the product, the substance, whatever. It is all about the intention that goes into it. It's all about the way that we're loving ourselves through that process, whether we're hearing, listening to our wants and needs, or just kind of pushing our own agenda, etc. And all of this, I'm saying all of this because it's all contingent on our energy, right? Like how we are vibrating. We'll talk a little bit more about this because like I'm obsessed with quantum physics. You know, but there is this concept, bosons, which are a particle. I love this quote from Dr. John Hagelin. He says, bosons of a feather flock together. Bosons are particles that, you know, it's basically like attracts like. It's basically quantum physics proving that's a reality. We all vibrate, particles vibrate. They all have spin numbers. That's been proven. So if we understand it in this very like fundamental level, that our energy is important. You can feel it when someone's low vibey, right? When you just feel someone's energy is slimy, they're not like into good things, you know, we've all been there. And then you can feel it when someone's energy is just like happy and good and pure and blah, 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 right? We've all been there. And that's just kind of the difference. I mean, ultimately, end of the day, we can choose to live whatever life we want. You know, maybe we want to be a little bit low vibey, and that's cool too. Like, our souls choose a certain path and we are living it out, you know. I also think that innately, as human beings, conscious beings, we all want to grow and evolve. That is the nature of life. And so when we choose healing mechanisms for ourselves, that is where we see that growth and evolution. No matter like, you know, how low vibey or where we're at. Like low vibey is not even bad. It just means that like, you know, it's just kind of a buzzkill, I guess, right? Or it's, it just doesn't serve us, you know? I mean, I think the world is full of things that can be pretty crazy and scandalous. Unfortunately, it's sad, right? But I think at the end of the day, we all make our choices about like how we want to live. And when we are making choices that honor our soul, that honor our alignment, that honor our energy, that is where we find happiness and fulfillment. So I so appreciate you listening. I will stop with that. Obviously, I love to talk, right? I appreciate you hearing, your love, your support. If you like these videos, definitely thumbs up, share, subscribe. Let's build the community. I love what's going on here and just want to keep getting the material out. So yeah, if you're interested in personal services, intuitive, food, Ayurvedic consultations, definitely check all that stuff out in the description box below. And yeah, I'll see you for the next episode. Much love and light, lots of blessings. Thank you.